Hello, everybody. This is Mark Morse. Today we're going to be talking about, guess what? The John Lennon album that was released in 1986 called Menlove Avenue. Before I get to that, I do want to thank Beatle Dave. YouTube channel. He mentioned my name in one of his videos recently, and my subscription count went up, believe it or not. So thanks, Beatle Dave, for the mention, and thanks for any new subscribers here today. And of course, thanks for all you old-time subscribers. And if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, it's real easy. You just hit that subscribe thing. Doesn't cost a penny. Anyway, today I want to talk about Menlove Avenue. And Menlove Avenue was released after Lennon's death in 1986, supervised by Yoko Ono. What most people are going to remember about this album is the artwork by Andy Warhol. This album was not a big seller for John Lennon. Even when I was collecting records, this is not one I bought, and nobody got it for me for Christmas. This was released in 1986 in October in hopes to get sales for the Christmas rush. It never charted in the UK, and I think it charted very low in the United States, like maybe 127, something like that. Menlove Avenue refers to the street John Lennon grew up on when he was a boy in Liverpool. I think the exact address is 251 Menlove Avenue. That might show up in a Beatle quiz that I'm going to do here eventually. So good thing to remember. 251 Menlove Avenue is where John Lennon grew up. Assembled by Yoko Ono during a time when it was John Lennon's infamous Lost Weekend. So a lot of these things came from, well, all of these things came during that period when he was away from Yoko. Especially the rock and roll album era and Walls and Bridges. And what I want to talk about today is I've got this album because I'm trying to fill out my solo Beatles collections. I'd never listened to this before. I was always suspicious of albums that came out after a singer or an artist's death. I always got the feeling that, it was a money grab by the record companies. So I was always suspicious. But I am so glad I got this and actually listened to it. It is a much better album than I expected. The first side is mostly the rock and roll outtakes. Here We Go Again is I think it's the only song that Phil Spector and John Lennon wrote together. It's kind of an odd song. It seemed like it would be something that would go on the rock and roll album, but because it was an original song, it's kind of doubtful that's what it was intended for. So there's not a whole lot of what was really going to happen with it, but it did end up on here. I really like the song. Let me start off by saying side one is good. It's good, fair to good. Side two, I think, is spectacular. Rock and Roll People, I believe, was a song. It's by John Lennon. I think this is the one that was intended for Mind Games but got left off, and I think it was given to Johnny Winter, and I think Johnny Winter had some success with it. Angel Baby, of course, classic rock and roll. Since My Baby Left Me, and then, of course, the Phil Spector song, To Know Her Is to Love Her, kind of slowed down. These are beautiful renditions. I really like these songs. but it's really side two where really this album shines. These are the songs like the rehearsals for Walls and Bridges. And I saw somewhere where somebody described Walls and Bridges as John Lennon's being smothered in production. I've always liked Walls and Bridges, and I've never felt that it was smothered in production. But what's interesting about these songs is there's hardly any production at all, and they are fantastic. There's an intimacy that you feel when listening to these songs, stripped down, it's just a wonderful experience. It's melancholy. I'm not going to say it's a super uplifting experience, but I love John Lennon's vulnerable voice. He's just, I like his voice anyway, but in these songs, that's the second side listing. I know, I always forget to do this. I know people like to look at labels and stuff, and I'm always forgetting to do that. There's the labels and stuff. These songs, these rehearsal songs from Walls and Bridges are just fantastic. Steel and Glass, which I've always loved anyway, to me is even more powerful on here. Scared, again, John Lennon, vulnerable, just his voice, limited instruments, fantastic. Old Dirt Road, and then of course the outright depressing Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out. I've always loved that song on Walls and Bridges. I think I love it even more here. It's so stark, and it's just an amazing song. And then Bless You, which is a beautiful, beautiful song. I wanted to read, Yoko supervised this production, and she has a note on the back of this record I wanted to read to you. Menlove Avenue. As a child, John was brought up by Aunt Mimi and Uncle George in their home on Menlove Avenue in Liverpool. In 1956, when John was 16, Elvis Presley happened as a worldwide phenomenon. It changed John's life. John's American rock roots, Elvis, Fats Domino, and Phil Spector, are evident in these tracks. But what I hear in John's voice are the other roots of the boy who grew up in Liverpool, listening to Greensleeves, BBC Radio, and Tessie O'Shea. I just think this album hasn't gotten the love maybe it should. If you ever encounter this album and you have a chance to listen to it or get it, I would recommend this album. I think I don't think this is just for completists. I originally bought it just for to be have a fuller collection, but I've really enjoyed this album. I've listened to it several times. I've got a lot of new records I need to get to, but I'm having a hard time not playing this one. So that's my recommendation. I also want to show you something else I got with John Lennon, a bootleg album. Let me go grab it. I forgot to pick it up. Okay, through the magic of editing, I'm already back. I picked up this bootleg album. It's John Lennon, Teddy Boy. I just thought I'd throw it in at the end of this video because I like to record these odd little finds. I'm sure it's not rare or anything, but I did want to show it to everybody. This, of course, is an unofficial release. And if you had any doubts, just take a look at the label there. They call that the white label. Anyway, this is interesting. Definitely not something to go out and buy or pay any significant money for, but it has some interesting things on there. Some of this recording is just as bad as you might think it is, but it has some interesting stuff on here. Some radio spots where John Lennon is promoting Goodnight Vienna for Ringo, and he does a little guest DJ appearance on some. There's some stuff with him talking with Howard Cosell, lots of live, poorly recorded stuff, including a version of Imagine. And then it ends with Lennon kind of making some sarcastic and remarks about McCartney's One Too Many People song. But this is another thing I picked up. Like I've said, I've been picking up a lot of odds and ends and then trying to fill in my solo Beatles, and also I'm just kind of gathering Beatles collections now. So that's kind of what I'm focused on Beatle-wise. I have a whole bunch of new records that I've gotten recently, and that's one of the reasons I'm not posting as much. I have so many records I just want to listen to. Thanks for watching. Thanks again, Beatle Dave, if you're watching. Your mention did spike my sub count, and which was a very pleasant surprise. And I'll talk to everybody again very soon. Thanks for watching.